Undertone Anywhere. Today we're going to be talking about leveraging emotion for advertising success and creative success. I'm Laura Salant. I'm the managing director of the Insights Consultancy, and I'm also Undertone's chief storyteller. And it's my pleasure to introduce our special guest speaker, Anna Lacombe, who is General Manager Americas East for System One Research. Anna?
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here today.
And Anna and System One and Undertone have been working together and learning together for about 5 years now. And one of the things that attracted me to System One in the first place was the great science behind it. Anna and I are card-carrying members of the Science Sisterhood. So Anna, would you tell us a little bit about the science and maybe start with Daniel Kahneman?
Yes, I would love to start with Daniel Kahneman. He's an extremely influential psychologist and economist, and personally, I think he's a genius. And the reason why is because he combined his passion for understanding humans and why we do what we do with economics. And thanks to that, he really revolutionized everything that we know about how people behave, how consumers purchase, etc. And I would say that the biggest and most radical change that he really introduced is we used to think that people are rational and always make the best decision and are very thoughtful and calculated, especially in their purchases. But he found and proved that we're actually extremely emotional beings. And that was really radical at the time, earned him a Nobel Award for that as well. And his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, is really the foundation for everything we know about behavioral sciences today, even till this day. And System One, so the reason why we're even called System One is because of one of his central thesis regarding the two modes of thought. So there's System One, which is intuitive, fast, emotional. That's System One. And then System Two, which is slower, more thoughtful, more logical, and more rational. And so the reason why we're called System One is because we aim to bypass that System Two brain and really dive into the System One brain to understand on that intuitive level what people are feeling, how they're perceiving, whether it's advertising, new products, brands, etc. And System One started doing that before this was cool. Now I think a lot of companies can say they do System One things, but we don't just do it because it's cool. We do it because it's predictive. People feel before they think, before they do. So that gives us more predictive results. So by understanding that System One, we're able to better predict consumer behavior. So that's a win-win, I think, for everyone.
Awesome, Anna, thanks. And one other thing that we'd like to ground everybody in before we get started is the idea that's been put forward by your Chief Innovation Officer, Orlando Wood, and that's about the importance of appealing to the right hemisphere of the brain. So what's that all about?
We could do a whole session on that, and maybe we will one of these days. But the crux of it, really, the book combines the latest research in neuroscience, as well as looking back to history and especially art throughout the ages, and then finally the application to advertising. And what really triggered Orlando's quest to dive deep into this is the fact that the latest neuroscience shows us that the way we used to perceive the left and the right brain halves is now a little bit outdated. And that's because we used to think the right brain creates, the left brain analyzes. But that's a little bit simplistic. We now know that actually the two halves of the brain don't do different things. They just do things differently. It's a form of processing our environment and our world. And to give you a little bit of context of what that means and why it's important is because as a society, when we lean towards one half of the brain or the other, we see those traces start to occur in our artwork, as we'll see in our advertising. And to illustrate the differences, so for example, the left brain is very narrow, it's very focused, it's goal-oriented, it's very explicit, it loves language and symbols, and it's very rhythmic. The right brain kind of takes a step back. It's very holistic, sees the whole, sees the context. It also loves metaphors, wordplay, and implicit things, so things you have to infer as opposed to just immediately kind of be told. And also, instead of rhythmic music, the right brain loves that more melodic music. And to illustrate the different time periods for you very quickly, I think everyone can remember the beautiful art from the Renaissance, right? And if you think about what that art really looked like and why it captures us even today, is because it's so lifelike. There's so much depth to it. It's like someone took the most amazing camera that hasn't been created yet, went back in time and captured that moment for us between people often. It's just so realistic. And also it has a lot of references. So even in the Renaissance, they were referencing antiquity. So they were referencing famous people from the past, and also architecture, for example. So that's very right-brained, that kind of deep and very human-driven type of approach.
I think that's a really important word too, to say human-driven. It's really all about connections and people, which is something that we can all relate to. So I don't know about everybody who's on the Zoom right now, but I get invited to at least 5 webinars every single day. We thought we would change this up a little bit and gamify this. So it's very important that everybody participate. I'm going to hand it over to Anna. I think we'll all learn a lot along the way, but please don't be shy and jump in. And Anna, why don't you lay out the ground rules and tell us what you'll be doing?
Rules. So as Laura, you basically stated the rules. The rules are 1, have fun, and number 2, participate. And in order to do so, we will be using the chat room. So before we jump into the main content, let's warm up. So I do have, let's warm up those fingers. We'll be using those a lot. Please tell me, based on the little bit that I told you about the right versus left brain tendencies today, do you think we are more right-brained or do you think we are more left-brained? Let's get those juices going. I'm waiting for you guys in the chat room. Are we more right-brained, so more holistic, more implicit, or are we more left-brained where we're more goal-oriented, narrow, focused, etc.? Oh, we're getting answers. Okay, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right. Half and half, good one. Left. All right, so it does seem like, I would say by a slight majority, we are more left brain, and I would agree with that. With the huge changes in business, technology, I think everyone here feels that pressure of that tremendous amount of data that we now have. We are very left-brained and very driven by analytic things, very focused, and we can be oftentimes very narrow in our approaches. So yes, we are left-brained. So keep that in mind as we start to look at the advertising, because rather than tell you why Laura and I think something is emotionally engaging or not, what we really want to do is use the chat room so you guys can tell us why something engaged you personally. And we think that's the best way to viscerally feel the difference between those ads that we saw are highly emotionally engaging versus those that are not. So I will share my screen so we can start viewing those ads. And what I'll be showing you guys is our System 1 Test Your Ad database. And for the past several years, what we've been doing is we've been identifying ads that go on air on TV, and we've been testing those. So we now have a database of about 40 to 50,000 ads at this point. So there's a lot to choose from. I've picked some good examples for you guys today. And also, I think we need to address kind of the elephant in the room, which is coronavirus. We're not going to only talk about COVID, but I think it will be helpful to look at a few examples of ads that resonate, that have a COVID message versus those that don't. And then we're going to move on to other kinds of advertising, both pre-coronavirus as well as in, honestly, even the most recent couple weeks. So you can see what ads are doing without even having to address coronavirus, kind of going back to normal programming. So let me take you to our global coronavirus, there it is, category. And so let me show, before I show you the first ad, let me just quickly show you the key metrics that we'll be using today. And there's just 3. So the first one, the star ranking, this is based on long-term brand building potential. And the way we get this is by asking about emotional response to creative. So people pick, depending on what they're feeling as a result of seeing the ad, they pick from the 7 basic human emotions plus neutrality. So the higher the score is, and it goes from 1 to 6, the 5.9 really. The higher this goes, the more strongly appealing and memorable this will be well into the future. This spike score, this is related to a short-term response, and this is an index. So you'll see something like this, dark green 1.52, really strong. Over here, this yellow, just moderate. And what's composed of how we generate that short-term potential is by looking at the journey. So the second by second emotional response. We also look at emotions on a second by second frame, and then also brand recognition. So how dynamic the creative is, plus whether people recognize the brand, is what influences that short-term action. The long-term is purely based on emotion. That's what we found to be most predictive in market. So without further ado, I thought we would go into a pretty controversial category, and I'll start off with Cottonelle. And we'll start with this is a 1.2, so towards the lower end of the spectrum. Great. So after that ad, please, in the chat room, talk to me. What are your feelings after that? Or why do you think why did it resonate with you? Why did it not resonate with you? Too much text. Bingo. I think we've already captured it. Too easy. There was nothing complex. It was speaking kind of at you. There was nothing to kind of infer. Anything else? Doesn't look like this one was really engaging based on the little responses I'm getting. Boring. Yep. Tremendous amount of neutrality. If you go over here and start looking at this journey, yeah, that gray spot is just no voiceover. Just a tremendous amount of neutrality. And yes, I would agree, text. And if you think back to that left brain, right brain discussion, text, the left brain loves language, but the right brain, not so much. Looks like a PowerPoint presentation, yes. And sadly, we've been seeing a lot of ads. It's not just Cottonelle. Don't want to hate on them. Let me show you a better, it was horrible. Let me show you a better toilet paper execution. Hopefully you'll find this one more engaging. This one is by Angel Soft.
Life takes softness and strength, especially now. Angel Soft is donating $1 million to families facing financial hardships with the Give Together Now initiative, and we pledge to match your donation up to $1 million more.
Real people, exactly. There was more humanity in this one. We saw people, nice music and human interaction. And I think what's key, we'll see in a lot of the other ads, it's not just about showing people, it's about those people having their own moment as opposed to being used as props. So less body parts or random people just using a product and more interaction between people. That's what we resonate with. Yes, the cute kids don't hurt, good music also as well. We've seen a lot of depressing music and COVID ads. So I agree, this music soundtrack was a lot better, emotional, exactly. It elicited something. I'm glad to see that you guys are agreeing on this one. Let me quickly go to a restaurant. So this will be McDonald's. And so they have two ads. One is really strong. One is pretty average. So we're going to start with the average one first. But it just goes to show you, you know, in the span of just a couple weeks, if you look at when these came out, very different approaches, very different results. Nicole is annoyed by the music. I don't know about you guys, but that felt like the longest 30 seconds ever. You know those ads that just go through, you're just so enamored, and that just wasn't it. Can you guys tell me why? I mean, it's McDonald's. Everybody loves McDonald's. Why was the emotional engagement pretty weak? Why was there a lot of neutrality, even negativity? We see some negative emotions come through. All text. Yes, it seems like that's the deadly sin today. A lot of text, yes. I think it'll be easier to see why this one was so bad when we juxtapose that with the other one, which did a lot better. a lot better, 5.7. That's the kind of caliber that we see in the Super Bowl often. Here's another 30-second ad. Let's see how this, only one color. Very flat.
After billions and billions, these are the most important meals we've ever served. Through May 5th, we'll be feeding first responders and healthcare workers thank you meals for free. It's our honor to serve you.
Thoughts, guys? How did you feel about that one? Comforting voice, thank you meals, giving, not selling. I forgot to mention the other one about the drive-through was about product. This one was about people, right? And more about expressing McDonald's message and values as opposed to pushing that product in that other ad. Exactly. I think also, if you look at this emotional journey, you see that this happiness really builds, and then you see this huge peak start to emerge once people realize what sign this person is putting up. So there's that intrigue, and the story develops, and you're curious, what is he doing? What is he going to put up on that famous sign? And then when we realize what that message is about giving away those meals for those people that we need to be thankful for right now, it has a really strong emotional payoff. Great, so I'm gonna move on to the beauty category. Secret ad, you may have seen this one. A 4.1, another really strong one by Secret. This one's 60 seconds.
We've really missed being together. It hasn't been easy. We have been making so much progress.
You can't go to practice in person. You can't talk to your friends in person. You can't go to school in person.
And we all face different challenges.
I'm a people person. I need to see people.
But Secret is making sure that staying home doesn't mean our progress stops.
A full house.
We're taking this time to practice new skills.
If it drops, just keep going. You practice your count.
Just to learn how to lead.
Ready, set, go.
Oh, did you see that? And to lift each other up.
Any
You
thoughts
have a
emerging
special
yet?
talent.
Any feelings?
Use it so that when we come back together,
We are ready to
Love
go.
it, hate it?
Yeah.
And stronger than ever before.
Find tips for staying strong at girlsleadinggirls.org/secret.
Cute kids, that's another one. I guess cute kids is the formula, right, Laura?
Totally.
Cute kids, cute dogs. But yes, I think what's really interesting about this one, and it's something that we're not seeing a lot of brands do very successfully, but you see the sadness, this light blue that really built in the beginning when Secret talked about how, the girls can't practice together, they can't see each other. The little girl literally says, I need to see people. But then we see that positive resolution with them finding ways to still be together, and then also finding out how Secret is supporting the mission and making sure we're still striving for equality for girls in sports. So I think that worked really well, introducing the sad emotion as tension, but then resolving it in a positive way. I'm going to skip over to the question I'm seeing. Yes, that is a very good observation. So that is correct. The way we measure these emotions, it is self-reported. So there definitely is an element of that system there's potential for that system to creep in. However, the way we've developed our tool is for it to be very system one. So we use human faces that we validated to represent the basic human emotions. So we feel that helps us bypass that cognitive bias at least a little bit. So yes, good observation. I would say it's a fair one. There's definitely an element of it being self-reported. We're definitely limited by, apologies. I'll repeat the questions moving forward. Yep, so we're talking about in survey format, it's definitely, there is a challenge of being as system one as possible, but I think the closest we can get to it, the better. And definitely I think everyone is always striving to improve that even more.
And if I can just break in here, it's true that people have to recognize what emotion they're feeling, but there is a fancier version of System 1, which we do all the time for client measurement at Undertone, where people who are aware of what they're feeling can tell us why. And that's something that's so powerful because you get all these great voice of the customer comments as well. And while we certainly believe in the validity of all those other methods, biometric measures like eye tracking or things that measure how fast your heartbeat or how much you sweat, this does have an advantage over that in terms of those comments. So what you're seeing is you're just seeing the dashboard version of this. Yep. But I'm happy to chat about that further.
Absolutely. Great. So we saw, let me see. So we saw a good example for deodorant. Let me quickly show you another one that, another ad that took a different approach for coronavirus. And this is Dove. And as we know, oh no, where did the Dove ad go? Oh, there it is. I clicked the wrong one. Okay. So Dove, you know, pretty famous for a lot of their advertising, and they do have some better creative. But I'm going to show you this one just to compare it to the one that we just saw. Thoughts on this one? What did you guys think of this one? Is it unfairly a 1-star ad? Depressing. A lot of pain, yes. Very sad, yes. So if you look at that emotional journey, contrary to the other one, yes, it introduces that sadness, but it never has a chance to resolve it. Someone said that it's unfairly a 1-star ad. And you know what? I went back and forth on this one as well, because I think, you know, there's still a place for an ad like this, and I still think it was so powerful. But from a brand building perspective, in terms of generating those positive memories that will persist in consumers' minds for a long time, this unfortunately is not going to be it. What we find is really happiness and also surprise. Those positive emotions are what push the brand forward in terms of growth. So yes, unfortunately, with all the sadness not being resolved, this just wasn't doing that for Dove. So I will only show you one more category within this space, and it's for travel. This one's long, but I don't think we need to see the whole thing to understand the gist. If you guys could comment your feelings and thoughts on it as we go through, I think that will also help. So your System 1 responses, if you could provide those in the chat, that would be great. So here's Visit Portugal.
It's time to stop. It's time to look out for each other in the distance. Time to stare humanity in the eyes. To take a break for the world. It's time to stop. Time to make a pause so we can play again. To think of everyone
I miss the
and
world
meet
too.
no one. To reset, recenter, switch off.
I'm going to pause this one because it doesn't really change much. Preachy. Thank you, Laura. So the voiceover, while it's polite, it did feel like it was kind of talking at me and reminding me that I'm missing out on the world and that I must stay home. It's definitely not something that is going to really engage people and want them to be curious to see the whole almost 2.5 minutes. I would agree with that. Let me show you a different travel ad that also uses voiceover, but you'll see it's quite different, and I hope you can viscerally feel the difference for Tourism Australia.
A funny thing happened on the way home as we closed our doors and explored smaller worlds. We looked out through the window and realised we missed you, maybe more than ever on Toast. Now, that may not be true, but we'll tell you what is. Staying connected to mates. It's just what we do. So, look, there's a quokka, ruse, running amok, furry friends high in trees and green shoots, popping up. The fish are on a break, from our sun-kissed bits. Whale
Inspiring.
sharks
Yes.
roaming quietly, our silence, their bliss. What else is going on? Well, the winds are yet sweeter.
I have goosebumps. Yes, ASMR. It's authentic. Yeah, doesn't it have a much more authentic voice? I just feel like he's not in the other ad for Portugal. The imagery didn't coincide with the voiceover really. Here, the way he's talking about the animals and there's a little bit of humor there. It's more playful, as David pointed out. This one definitely has a much different tone and sets a mood. Exactly. And you kind of feel like you're there. For the Visit Portugal, to me, it was kind of out there. With the Tourism Australia, I felt like I was there, if that makes sense. So to close this off, let's take a poll. Where do you guys want to go? Is it Australia or Portugal based on these? Yup. It's much more far away, but yes, it's Australia for me as well. Looks like we're all going to Australia as soon as we can, Laura.
I think that's great. Roll in.
Perfect. So that's all the coronavirus ads. Laura, I think what I'll do now is I'll head over to kind of bring us back to our regular programming and our campaigns, you know, before and after COVID that don't require us really talking about coronavirus.
I think that would be a nice break for everybody.
Perfect. And before I show you those ads, I also wanted to note, because there's a lot of fear about, you know, do I have to address coronavirus, or am I insensitive if I start doing my regular campaign and I'm not addressing the crisis? And what we found is two things. So firstly, when we retested pre-COVID ads in the COVID world, we saw the same kind of emotional engagement. Our scores had a 0.9 correlation. So it's not that the previous ads are any less engaging right now. Similarly, when we look at ads that are coming out right now that don't address coronavirus, yeah, there's duds, but there's always duds. There's still a lot of breakthrough ads coming through. And actually, the next ad I will show you is one of those that really broke through in the month after lockdown in the US. So I'm going to go into the US now, and we're going to head into the credit card category. It's right here. And I have to say, really impressive. MasterCard, during coronavirus, was able to create two of the top ads in the category. And in this category, we have a whopping 699 ads, and they currently have the top two, both in the span of the last few weeks since lockdown. So first, I will show you this one, which doesn't talk about coronavirus at all.
Give the ball to the kid. How awesome is that? Jimenez in the air.
There's one happy fan. That's why we love this great game and the great players in it.
The moment. That's amazing. That is amazing.
Big hug. A big Josh Bell fan.
We wish you a long and happy life together.
Mike Trout, as usual, signed an autograph for young fans, and the reaction, priceless.
Yes. Yep. Very emotional feelings coming through about hugs, making us want to be at a sporting event, missing baseball. 5.9, tremendously effective, creative for MasterCard, really digging into and not being afraid to remind us of what is amazing in our world and what will continue to be amazing in our world. Not pushing any product, just really focusing on that human experience and how MasterCard is a part of that.
I thought that was so super important too. You're seeing the connections between people, which is something that we're craving as we're held apart. So maybe even magnified there.
Absolutely. I agree that I do feel that this is magnified here too. And then another ad they came up with, this one is slightly COVID. You'll see why. It's not the hit it on your head COVID, but there's a little bit of it. But this is another one they came out with, another 5.9 star ad, top of their category since just over a week ago.
Many of us are working from home and adjusting to new coworkers. Coworkers who borrow supplies and always interrupt meetings. A gift can help. And when you use your MasterCard, you have security benefits that keep you protected. So your purchase ends up in the right hands or mouth.
Relatable.
And your staff can start something priceless.
Yep. Yes, real life experiences reflect our reality. So cute. I'm just reading what you guys are saying because you guys are capturing all of it. There's so much humanity in that ad, and instead of lamenting about, you know, coronavirus and how we're all in this together and how the brand is still here for you, which is kind of that repetitive thing we've been seeing, they take a completely different approach where they show something positive that's happened. A lot of us have new coworkers around that are helping us get through these really difficult days. And instead of focusing on the hardships, they're really leaning into what makes this time special and what can still give us some of that hope and happiness right now. So yes, I'm glad you guys liked this ad as much as I did. So now, sadly, I will show you guys some ads that didn't perform as well, and both are for Experian. And I want to show you them, especially as you compare them to what we just saw from MasterCard. So first, let me show you Maximum Boost, which came out at almost at the same time as these other two MasterCard ones. Let's see how Experian approaches life after COVID in a way.
How can Experian Boost help you?
Experian Boost is a game changer. My credit limit went from $1,000 to $14,000 now. I feel like I'm in complete control.
Boost your credit scores instantly, free, only at Experian.com/boost.
Thoughts, feelings, reactions. Who is he talking to? He's talking at us. Stale. A lot of text again. Very product heavy. Yeah, I don't want to see my credit score right now, said Leah. Exactly. So you see in the journey a tremendous amount of neutrality. That's what drives and ends up being that 1.1 star result. It's just leaving people feeling apathetic. It's really not hitting any emotional tones. That human that we saw, he was just a prop. He was a talking head. He basically replaced the voiceover. He wasn't talking to us. Essentially, that testimonial style is still talking at us. So I think sometimes the mistake is thinking that testimonial introduces some humanity, but it's still really much talking at us. So let me show you another one from Experian in which, similar to MasterCard, they tried to subtly mention coronavirus. Unfortunately, not as successfully as MasterCard, and I'll let you guys tell me why after you watch it.
How can Experian Boost help you?
Experian Boost is a game changer.
Sorry, I meant to play this one, Be Protected.
Right now, identity thieves could be searching the dark web for your personal information. Don't go it alone, or wait till it's too late to protect your identity. Get your one-time free dark web scan at Experian.com/scan today.
Fear. Exactly. Did that make you feel like they understood us or understood us in a deep way or tapped into something? Yes. Fear. Everyone's saying terrible, fear-mongering, don't trust them, be afraid, be very afraid. Yes. So very, very, very different approaches as we saw. So I'm going to head over now. We're actually going to look at some auto ads. Those honestly could be hit or miss. Even in the Super Bowl, we see some outstanding ads, and then sometimes we see some that don't do as well. So I'll start with the Kia ad. Where is it? So yeah. So this Kia ad, it's from the end of last year. A lot of money put behind it, almost 12.5 million. Let me know what you guys think about it.
Telluride, built to make each trip a story. Tales worthy of becoming fine, leather-bound books. And because of the available 6 built-in USB charging ports,
dark.
None of those books will begin. Chapter 1. Today, our phones all died.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm a little confused as well. Force, yeah, that whole, so it's called The Book. So it's supposed to be about you writing the book of your life. But then what happened was they said, we don't want your book to end because because your phone didn't charge, and now you have 6 charger ports. What? Yes, like what happened? 12.5 million. Yes, so we also see media spend when we look at these results. And sometimes we unfortunately see brands put their spend behind creative that isn't as effective. And then sometimes we see them put out something that's maybe more risky that really gets that emotional tone, but they don't put a lot of spend behind it, or maybe they only put it on digital, but maybe has also broader potential. So yes, I'm glad we're all on the same page about kind of not really understanding what happened here. And also boring, yes. So let me show you this Toyota commercial. This one also came out towards the end of last year.
Hello. Mom, are we going to make it on time? Don't worry, sweetie. We'll get there. I've been waiting for you. Here you go. Hello. So if you could be... I've been imagining you. Everyone, now! Let me be the first to say welcome home.
Heartwarming, Dad, Christmas.
Welcome home.
Connection. Any other thoughts on this one? Did you guys like this one more than the Kia ad? Military reunions always get me. Relationship, yes. Okay, a big yes in terms of liking this one more. And if you think about this one, it wasn't very product heavy like the other one. Song a little too much. Agree, especially towards the end. A little melodramatic. But if you think about this one, like it's not product heavy and there's a story unfolding and you want to see what happens next. And it does take you on that journey. And as we see, it's a really strong emotional journey. And, you know, a lot of people think Christmas ads just magically just score extremely well because people love Christmas. But you see that happiness is actually pretty slow to build. It's only when we start to see what's going on, we start to get that emotional payoff. That's when we see that huge surge of happiness. So Christmas ads don't just get brownie points for being Christmas ads at all. Great, so let me move over to the shaving department. That's still a necessity now. Maybe not. Let me see.
I've seen a lot of quarantine beards, Anna.
That's very true, yes. Maybe it's because they saw the second ad that I will show you. I'll start with the good one. So I'm going to start with the #1 ad in the category. This one actually 2 years ago by Gillette. Some of you may have seen this.
Shaquem, get in here. Take your razor, yep. All right, up and down, never side to side. Shaquem, you got it? Come on, get back. Keem, we're second behind your brother. Stay focused. Can't nobody beat you. Ain't nobody beat you. All work, baby. Don't pay off. You got this.
Father and son moments. Memories, overcoming obstacles, motivation, yes.
All right, let me see.
All those kind of rite of passage, all these beautiful human experiences that can only be told with stories and human connection and from person to person and possibly reiterated by a brand via advertising. Exactly. So this ad really hits on all of those and really takes us on that journey. It's really emotional. And very human focused. Natalia said it impressed her. I would feel the same way. Like, it makes you stop and look, and a little bit of goosebumps, if I'm honest. So let me show you this one. This one just came out. It looks like it just came out on March 3rd, and it stopped airing on March 22nd. Maybe they got access to the dashboard and saw. It's a 1-star. So let me show you this one from Manscaped.
Using the wrong tool for the job?
Annoying.
Use the
Loud
right tool for the
noises.
job. Introducing the Lawnmower 3.0 by Manscaped, featuring advanced skin-safe technology. Order today at manscaped.com and receive free shipping, free boxer briefs, and a free travel bag.
Can't hear the guy over music. Talk to me. What else? What else? Aside from the loud noises, you don't need to see that. Yeah. So look at this negativity. You know, people are. I don't think while there's a lot of negative emotions, you'll see that 5 out of the 7 universal emotions are negative. People don't express them that often. This is a lot. So this bread is disgust. Here we're seeing some fear. We're also seeing some anger and contempt, even a tiny bit of sadness. I guess people felt sad for those poor screaming men. And you don't feel good watching. And and I think the missed opportunity here is because we don't want to say just go in happy-go-lucky and always be joyful in the advertising. It's not about that. It's about resolving that. So we want to leave. So even if we introduce something that's a little bit more edgy and maybe have some people screaming, why focus the entire time on a bad effect of a competitor product making you scream when you can focus on the relief that this product offers? They barely touched on that. And I think that was a missed opportunity to resolve all that disgust and negative tension and say, we could take you from this to this, but they basically just drew out all of that kind of annoyingness.
It was like a brand repellent.
Yes, yes. Yep. So now that I've disgusted you, let's pop into the food category. Is it convenient food? Yes, convenience. Perfect. And what I like about the dashboard is we also rank different advertisers. So it's also a helpful tool just to quickly see kind of how your brand or competitive brand compares versus others, in addition to how much people are spending. These numbers are crazy. But let me pop into here. And what I want to show you is, first I'll show you something for Healthy Choice. So both food ads, two different approaches, once again, vastly different results, and I'll let you tell me why. Thoughts? It's a 1.8, not terrible. It's not a 1-star. Anybody like it? Okay, we're still a little grossed out. Nice visuals. A little confusion about the proposition. Doesn't really look tasty. Don't hate it, don't love it. Was okay. Nothing in it makes me want the food. I got vertigo. Vertigo is a result of left brain attributes. So you see how everything is kind of abstract and flashing and freeze frame effect. Repetitive, exactly. It's very repetitive, and the music itself is like do 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 do. It's very repetitive. It's very rhythmic. There's a little bit of melody towards the end, but for the most part, it's very like boom, boom, boom. And the left brain loves that, but unfortunately, as you see here, people don't emotionally engage with that. And vast amount of neutrality. In fact, we're actually pissing some people off as the ad progresses. So instead of making them feel happy and want the brand, exactly, you don't remember the brand either. Look, the brand recognition is red, really, really low. So no. And what we find is that when you engage people, actually, we see that the branding can also improve because you've just got their attention in a much more effective way. So let me show you hopefully an ad that maybe will make you crave a little something. This one's by Kellogg's.
T-minus 10 seconds to crispier, fluffier Eggo home-style waffles. We are go for... Now that they're crispier and fluffier...
I think this one's a solo mission.
I understand.
Would you Lego your Eggo?
Leah said it was playful. Others want waffles already. Anything else? Metaphor. Exactly. We love that. The right brain loves that. The right brain also loves that story unfolding. Yep, crispy, fluffy, looks tasty. Exactly.
And I think too that strong interaction between the kid and the dad, and that they were both playing into that metaphor together. You know, with the space, it was just great.
Yep, and there's some implicitness too there, because it's not telling us, it's showing us, and you know, you infer what they mean by that and how they're playing, and it's imaginary and all of that. So yeah, the right brain loves to not be told, but to infer and guess. And that's what makes it more memorable, I believe. It's kind of like experiencing versus being taught something. more explicitly. Actually doing and understanding, that makes it last a long time. And that's why it's so important for brands to do that, because we want those memories to last as long as possible, especially if we're investing a lot of money behind some of these campaigns. So I do have one more category for you guys before we do a couple questions. We're gonna look at, actually we're gonna go back to Dove again, just because I have two examples of a campaign they did in 2017. One would think they're very similar, but I wanna see if you tell me why they're actually quite different. So I'm going into shampoo now. And this time I will start with the better one. This the top ad within shampoo, conditioner, soap, and deodorants. This ad from Dove from 2017.
I definitely love to show my leg. Put it out there in the open. Why hide it? I'm not letting this body stop me. Perseverance, strength, confidence.
Powerful. Agreed. Any other thoughts on that one? Inspiring, love and sport. Purpose, not product. Exactly. Love the story, but is it for a specific product? Authentic, real. What do they want me to buy? There are some questions about the product. Any other thoughts on this one?
That's interesting, Anna. Maybe we should talk about that for a second, about how the brand may be supported by an emotional message like this, and that's so important towards making you buy. There's a saying that System 1 has, and I'm going to sort of condense it a little bit, but it's feel nothing, buy nothing. So it's talking about what Dove stands for.
Exactly, and I actually don't think that this ad was intended for a specific line of their products. It was one of their broader Dove parent brand campaigns. And exactly, it doesn't always have to be about a specific product. There's definitely room for those, and if we want to activate, some of our budget can go towards more activation, and there we need to brand the product to come through. Otherwise, there's no short-term response. But from a long-term perspective, when we think about building these memories and associations, it doesn't really have to be very product specific. But that's what we find when we look at results. Now that we have this robust database, when we look at sales results and compare that to that year on year, we don't find, and we do have a score for brand, we don't find that that branding score is most predictive of growth. We find that the emotional response is most predictive of growth. So now let me show you, just so it doesn't seem like, you know, we're think Dove is the best. I'm going to show you another one of their ads, which fortunately they didn't put much money behind. But I want you to tell me what you think about it.
I am here today talking about Dove Advanced Care. 48 hours of protection. I don't have to reapply this not once.
It's really soft and almost velvety.
Someone
as
said
you
shoving
put
it in my
I
face.
can show my arms
Talking
when I'm
to us.
dancing. 5 stars.
Like a 4.5 out of 5. Actually, I want to change that.
It's like really soft.
Actually, I give it 5 stars.
Awkward.
Try Dove Advanced Care for softer, smoother underarms.
Forced, yes. So it looks like you guys agree. And armpits are gross, yes. So it looks like you guys are also agree with kind of this modest score of a 1.9. And if you compare that to that other ad where it was story-driven, purpose-driven, people-driven, this one has people, but those people are really just props for us to get the message of it makes my armpits soft. And also the way the words they use, they literally use 4.5, 5-star. That's extremely left brain, extremely analytical, not very right brain and engaging. That's not what you're going to remember. Hey, I need to buy that 4.5-star armpit thing, you know? So yeah, this one unfortunately was a miss for Dove. So nobody's perfect. And that's all the ads that I have to show you guys today. Laura, I don't know, did you want to open it up for some discussion, or if anybody wants any other ads to be shown.
Well, I also wanted to mention, if you're like me, you want to get your hands on this database. And one way that you can do that, because of our arrangement that we have with Undertone and System 1, is that you can send an ad for measurement by System 1 free and get a 30-day access to your category in this database. So all you have to do is ask your rep, and we'll fix that right up. Also, just wanted to say that as we were going through this, I wrote down my big five. You know, going from the different ads that we saw, from what I knew up front, also from the comments that people were making. So if you want to think about the things that you want to focus on: people, a sense of connection, a sense of place, tell a story, and above all, spread happiness. That's the most important of all. And I guess the sixth one is cute dogs don't hurt either. So keep all of those things in mind. I hope that you've learned something from this session. Thank you, Anna. Thank you to everybody who participated. And let's all go forth and be emotionally creative. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.